Grosse-Ile High School Jazz Band from Grosse-Ile, Michigan. That is about 30 minutes south of here, so a quick little drive up. That last song that you heard was called Take the A Train by Duke Ellington, and that featured Ryan Lewis on the trumpet, Laurel Mann on the trumpet, and Enzo Bonomo on the tenor saxophone. Our next song is another Duke Ellington song, and it will feature a lot of our soloists for this year. This is entitled Sea Jam Blues. That was Sea Jam Blues. That featured a lot of our soloists. So I'm going to announce them one by one. If you give them one clap after each one, got a lot of people here. Our first soloist is Agni Coher on the drum. We got Cosner Damon on the upright bass. Gavin Mahan on the piano. Ronan Hughes on the tenor saxophone. Vanessa Critchfield on the alto saxophone, Sophia Klebik on the trombone, Ben Stefke on the bari saxophone, Ryan Lewis on the trumpet, Ben Roadhouse on the alto saxophone, and Kaylee Smith on the trumpet. I'm very proud of our students this year. We've spent a lot of time on soloing and learning how to just be comfortable performing by yourself in front of an audience. And all of these kids wrote all of those solos by themselves. They put in all of the time, spent extra practice, staying after school, working on them, and just spending a lot of time doing all that work by themselves. So I'm very proud of them for taking the time to really work on soloing this year. Before we move on to our next songs, I want to give 2 quick shout outs. First, I want to give a shout out to our students for performing today. We have quite a few seniors that graduated last year that have already started college classes, have already moved into different colleges, and they have made the trip all the way back here just to perform with us today. And I want to give them a round of applause. We also want to shout out the Essentially Ellington Festival for providing most of the music that we have. We are a newer jazz program. We've only had this band for a year and a half, and we had a very limited music library. So we've got most of our music from Jazz at Lincoln Center having that very accessible Ellington library, and we're very grateful to be able to have this high quality music to perform for you today. The next song we'll be performing is another Ellington chart. It's called Lady of the Lavender Mist, and it will feature Ronan Hughes on the clarinet and Spencer Marsh on the trombone. So that last song that you heard was entitled Blue Goose, and that featured, so we don't forget anyone here, Gavin Mahan on the piano, Ben Roadhouse on the soprano saxophone, Ben Stefke on the bari saxophone, Kaylee Smith on the trumpet, and Spencer Marsh on the trombone. Before we play our final song for you today, I would like to give some shout outs and some thank yous to multiple people for supporting us. We are a relatively new jazz band, so just having the support of so many people makes it possible for us to even be here today. So first I want to give out a shout out to our parents, the parents of our students. Without you, we would not have your kids in general. We would also not have your kids here today. Thank you for driving them. Thank you for supporting all of their after-school activities. I know, especially for jazz band, we have a lot of performances throughout the year, and making your schedules work and coming to support them and buying things for them and just taking care of them. They're amazing people, and we would not be able to be at this festival without you. Next, a shout out to our admin at Grosse Ile. Thank you for creating a school where we can support not only our academics, but we also support our sports, we support our arts, and make it an environment where our kids don't have to choose between any of those, where our kids can be successful at all of them, and we can also have jazz band during the day, and for just setting up a schedule in which something like this, where we have a jazz band, is allowed to happen. So thank you to them. Next to the Detroit Jazz Festival and MSBOA, they talked about it earlier at the beginning of our set, but for creating a space that allows high schoolers to come and perform on a professional level. Our kids don't often get to perform on a stage that's this nice, with a sound crew, with a tuned piano, with lighting that works. So we're very grateful that they have created this opportunity for our students to perform, and also get to go to the festival later, meet all the other high school bands that are here today, shout out Northview, and also meet all the professional musicians that they will be able to see later today. Two more, thank you to our music boosters for financially supporting everything, for buying multiple of the instruments. If you have an instrument that the music boosters bought in the last year and a half, can you raise your hand right now? We got a bari, we got a tenor, we got a bass, we got drum stuff, we got a valve trombone. Thank you to our music boosters for just supplying us with the literal instruments we need to make this band function. And also for volunteering many hours of their time just to help run concerts, to help support our students in anything that they are doing. And finally, I want to give a shout out to the Grosse Ile community. The community has invited us into their spaces, into multiple buildings throughout the island, so we can perform concerts. And we get to treat these kids like professional musicians and prepare them for moments like this, where they actually get to perform on a professional stage. So thank you to the community for inviting us into the community, supporting us financially, supporting us by showing up to things. Anyone from Grosse Ile that made the trip here today, thank you for coming, and we would not be able to have this band without your support. Close out our set today. We have one more song for you. We are going to perform another Duke Ellington song, and it is going to feature one of our seniors who just graduated, has made the trip back to perform with us tonight. This is going to feature Ben Roadhouse on the alto saxophone on Rockabye River.
Thank you, Ms. Berman, and the Rosedale High School Jazz Ensemble.